Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to do an acrylic pour using ocean colors, blues, greens, white, and I'm going to use, here are the supplies that I use for this pour. So the Artist Loft turquoise and also the Deco Art green neon. And I've used both of these before, so I'm actually using some of the leftover paint from previous pours. And I'm using for the first time the Lowly Veef Matte and Scraper. This is an amazing, amazing matte. And I'm also using the Artist Loft silicone oil, and that's gonna hopefully give me some cells. And you can't really do this project without a blowtorch to get the bubbles out. And I've mixed some Floetrol into all of the colors, including the Artist Loft Flow Acrylic White. And so I'm going to start off just by covering the whole canvas in a good significant layer of white so that it does actually help the paint to flow across the canvas when I do the pour. And so now, this is the first time I've tried this, but I'm going to layer the paints into the cup. And what I learned from this is that I probably shouldn't have put white into it. I actually didn't like that. Having the one layer of white in there. I had enough white on the canvas, so I really didn't need it. And so you can see I'm going to do 2 flip cups of paint with the blues and the greens. And so here goes the flip. And first time doing this. Here we go. There we go. Look at all the cells. Unfortunately, I moved the paint around so much, a lot of the cells actually dissipated and ended up getting a bit muddy. I had plenty of paint to cover the canvas. I probably could have done this with 1 or maybe 1.5 cups of paint. Anyway, I'm not too concerned. I just wanted the colors because I am going to paint something on this. I'm thinking maybe a manta ray. And I just wanted to show you how much of the paint I was able to scrape up after I poured it off. And it created this really nice, light, turquoisey green color, almost like an aqua color of paint from what was left over. So it was really good. It's a nice way to save, and that's because of this great matte that I just bought. So I'm using some of the leftovers to make sure all the edges and the corners are all covered in paint significantly, and then I'm going to save as much of the leftover paint as I can. So now, I saw on a video where you can use some silicone and drop some drops into the paint and it will create these little dots, and unfortunately for me, nothing happened. So I'm going to try to now just use some of the leftover blue paint to create some flower pattern in here. And you'll see that this also, at first it looked okay, and then what happened was the paint was still running and moving across the canvas, so it lost some of the shape of the flowers, and I didn't like that either. But this, again, all experimenting. I'm still fairly new at all of this, and so these are all good lessons for future. I could probably do this if it was a thicker paint, but because I had so much of it was quite fluid, so it actually ran for quite a bit. And so you'll see now that's how much leftover I scraped off of the canvas, and so I'm just using that to try to texture some of the dots that I put on, add some dimension. And again, it didn't last long because I didn't like what was happening as it started to continue to run and settle on the canvas. So now I'm going to do, I wanted to put in some nice patterns in here, so I'm just using a stick to create some good shapes. And then I'm trying to get some of the bubbles out, but also any leftover cells that might be trapped underneath to get them to pop through. So now I'm adding a bit more blue, again trying to create a little bit more dimension. And then I decide I didn't like any of that, so I decide I'm going to go back to the swipe technique because I've used this before and I did like it. So just using a bit of plastic here, and I am trying to get some of the darker blue throughout the canvas and mix in. It was very significantly green, and so I was hoping for a bit more blue as well. There's still a lot of cells. I probably didn't even need so much of the silicone oil. The Floetrol probably was enough. And so here I'm just, again, this is just going to be a background for the painting, so all of the experimentation I'm doing is fine. And you can see now the flowers, you can see them losing their shape. And so this is where, oh, and I'm still trying to make sure that there's, all the edges are still completely covered. So I'm using some of that leftover paint. And again, making sure that the bubbles are out and any cells that are trapped under might still be able to pop through. So now is a good time to look at what's happening with the flowers there. Definitely all running together. I've actually tried to fix them by putting a bit more, some more dots. I thought, okay, enough time had passed, and I thought that maybe the paint had stopped moving around, but I didn't like it. Also, I thought the black would stand out really nice against the background. So I've tried this before. I've tried using the balloon kiss technique, and unfortunately after I did it, again, it looked very muddy. I didn't like the result, and I think the paint has to be thicker or dried a bit more before this technique actually works. So I kept on with this for a bit, thinking that it might turn out better, but in the end it never did work out properly. Colors on the balloon look really nice though. Yep, so if this is your first time visiting my channel, I would love it if you would please subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, especially if you're learning something or you have a question about what I learned, or any of the paints that I used, or how I mixed the paints together. Feel free to ask me questions or give me advice would be great as well. And so here you go. I'm going back to the swipe technique. Now I do really like using, I'm using some swipe. I really like the effects that this does. It also actually gives me a lot more control over what I'm trying to achieve. I love using the palette knives and other tools to try to get some effects in there. But I can control where it's going, and that's what I like most about using this. The kiss technique. The balloon kiss has never worked for me, so I might not actually try that again. So I'm almost at the end here. Ultimately, I kind of like to look at this. It kind of looks like it's underwater. Lots of nice cells in there, some nice designs. It almost looks like coral underwater or some seaweed. It'll look nice from my background. And so thanks so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you'll come back and visit again. Until next time, take care everyone.